You know how they always say the suburbs are supposed to be this peaceful little slice of the American dream? White picket fences, kids riding bikes, Saturday barbecues where everyone waves like they actually mean it. Yeah, that's Oakwood Grove Estates for you on the surface. Perfect lawns mowed to exactly 2 inches, mailboxes all the same shade of navy, no flags unless it's the 4th of July, and God forbid your rose bushes grow an inch too tall. The HOA runs the place like it's their personal kingdom. And right at the top of that little empire sat Karen Blackwell, our beloved president. Pink tracksuit, clipboard glued to her hand, smile that never quite reached her eyes. I'm Ed Thompson, 58, retired accountant, widower. My wife Sarah and I bought 142 Maple Lane 23 years ago, back when the neighborhood was still being built. She loved that corner lot because the backyard caught the morning sun just right for her garden. After she passed 3 years ago, I kept every single thing the way she left it. That garden became my therapy. A few tomato plants, some herbs, nothing fancy. But to Karen, it was an eyesore. It started small. A $50 fine for unauthorized vegetation. Another $75 because my garage door was open 5 minutes too long while I unloaded groceries. I paid them without a word. I'm not the guy who makes scenes. I just nodded, smiled, and kept my head down. What I was really doing was taking pictures, dates, copies of every receipt. Something in my gut told me this wasn't about tomatoes. Then came the phone call that flipped my world upside down. It was a Tuesday afternoon. I was out back watering Sarah's roses when my cell rang. Unknown number. I almost let it go to voicemail. Mr. Thompson. A clipped, icy voice. This is Richard Davies, legal counsel for Mrs. Karen Blackwell and the Oakwood Grove HOA Board. You are hereby formally notified to vacate 142 Maple Lane within 30 days. The property is required for Mrs. Blackwell's son Tyler and his new family. I nearly dropped the hose. Excuse me. You heard correctly. The board has determined that your lot is better suited for family expansion under current covenants. Failure to comply will result in immediate liens, utility interruptions, and legal action. Click. Dial tone. I stood there staring at my phone like it had grown teeth. 30 days. This was my home. Sarah's home. The place where we raised our daughter, where I proposed on the back porch, where I still talk to her ashes every night. And this woman wanted me gone so her precious Tyler could move in? I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I sat at the kitchen table with every deed, every tax record, every HOA welcome packet we received when we moved in. Nothing mentioned any family expansion clause. Nothing. The next afternoon, I heard tires crunching on my driveway. A shiny black SUV I didn't recognize. Out stepped Karen in her signature hot pink tracksuit, clipboard in one hand, designer sunglasses on her head. Right behind her, Tyler, tall and smug in a polo shirt that probably cost more than my monthly pension, and 2 guys in cheap suits carrying measuring tapes. They didn't even knock. They just marched straight toward my backyard like they owned the place. Karen, I called out, voice tighter than I meant. What the hell do you think you're doing on my property? She turned with that syrupy smile. Oh, Ed, sweetie. Just a preliminary assessment. Tyler's getting married next month, and we need to see where the new pool and mother-in-law suite will fit best. Once you're gone, of course. I felt my blood turn to ice. A brand new sign was already hammered into my front lawn. Future home of Tyler Blackwell and family. The sheer gall. Tyler pointed at my garden. Dad said we can rip all this junk out and put in a proper putting green. Golf's big in the family now. That did it. I stepped between them and my roses. You're trespassing. All of you. Get off my land. Karen chuckled like I'd told a cute joke. Ed, don't be dramatic. The board already voted. It'll be easier for everyone if you just cooperate. We'll even help you pack. One of the suited guys actually reached for my back door. I moved faster than I have in years. Touch that handle, and I swear on my wife's grave you'll regret it. My voice came out low, shaking. Karen's smile faltered for half a second. Tyler rolled his eyes. Come on, old man. We'll give you a week if you're slow. I pulled my phone out and started recording. This is Ed Thompson at 142 Maple Lane. Date and timestamp visible. You are on private property without permission. Leave now or I'm calling the sheriff. Karen's eyes narrowed. You really want to make this ugly, Ed? Ugly started the second you put that sign in my yard. They left, but not before Karen hissed, "You'll regret this." The sign stayed. I left it there on purpose. Evidence. That night my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "You won't win, old man." I smiled for the first time all day. They thought they were scaring me. All they did was light a fire. I spent the next week quietly photographing every violation I could find on Karen's own property. Her unapproved backyard gazebo, the fountain that drained into the storm sewer against code, the extra parking pad poured without permits. I was done being the nice neighbor. The fines started coming daily. $200 for excessive garden vegetation, $150 for non-compliant mailbox height, $300 because my American flag was up outside the approved holiday window. Each letter was signed by Karen Blackwell, President. Each one included a helpful note. "Compliance will expedite your relocation." I paid nothing. Instead, I filed appeals with the board, copied every single document, and started driving to the county records office every morning before the sun was fully up. The clerk, a no-nonsense woman named Rita, took one look at my growing stack of papers and shook her head. "You're not the first person Karen's targeted, but you're the first one fighting back this hard." I learned that 3 years ago the board quietly annexed several corner lots into a special family relocation fund. Translation: they could force sales at below market value if a board member's relative needed housing. The paperwork had my signature on it. Except I never signed anything. Forgery. Clear as day. I printed certified copies of my original deed, the real covenants from 2001, and the forged annexation papers. Then I waited. 2 weeks later, the moving truck showed up, parked right across my driveway like it belonged there. Boxes labeled Tyler's Nursery and Madison's walk-in closet. Karen stood on my lawn directing traffic, waving that damn clipboard. I walked out calm as Sunday morning. "Karen, you're on camera. Again. Every box that crosses my property line is evidence of attempted illegal occupation." She beamed like we were old friends. "Ed, we're just helping you move. Once the utilities get shut off, you'll see it's easier this way." Utilities? My stomach dropped. Sure enough, a Ridgeview Utilities truck rolled up an hour later. The guy looked embarrassed. "Orders from the HOA. Non-payment of special assessment fees." I wasn't even in arrears. The special assessment was invented the day before. I drove straight to the HOA office in the little clubhouse they treated like the Pentagon. "Board meeting in progress." I didn't knock. I walked in, slammed my folder on the table, and hit record on my phone. "Gentlemen, ladies, this annexation document is a forgery." My signature was traced. I have the original 2001 covenants right here. And while we're at it, let's talk about Karen's unpermitted gazebo that drains raw runoff into the community pond. The room went dead silent. Karen's face turned the color of her tracksuit. "This is harassment." "No, Karen. This is me returning the favor." One board member, old Mr. Peterson, actually looked at the papers and muttered, "She told us it was all legal." I left them arguing. That night the water came back on. Small win. But I knew the real fight was just starting. The next morning my mailbox was smashed. Not a rock. Someone had backed over it with a truck. Classic Karen move. I replaced it, installed a security camera, and kept collecting. Every nasty text, every anonymous note in my mailbox saying, "Go away, old man." Every late-night car that slowed in front of my house. I had a growing digital folder labeled Karen's Greatest Hits. Then came the real gut punch. A certified letter from the county. My property had been rezoned commercial overlay overnight. Translation: they could force a sale for community benefit. The proposed buyer? Victor Lang Developments. Luxury townhomes. And guess who sat on the planning commission that approved it? Karen Blackwell's brother-in-law. I sat on my porch that night with a beer I didn't drink and stared at Sarah's roses. "They're trying to erase us, babe," I whispered. "But I'm not going anywhere." The twist hit me like a freight train the same week the rezoning letter arrived. I was up at 3 a.m. Again, cross-referencing bank statements I'd gotten through a friend at the county clerk's office. That's when I saw it. Karen had been siphoning HOA funds for 2 years. $47,000 funneled into an account labeled Landscaping Reserve that somehow paid for Tyler's new BMW and Madison's designer nursery furniture. And the kicker? Her own backyard edition, the one she cited against me for non-compliance, was built without any permits at all. The very rule she weaponized against the neighborhood, she broke first. I had drone footage from a retired pilot down the street who hated Karen even more than I did. Clear shots of her illegal pool house, her unpermitted fountain, and the drainage pipe illegally connected to the community sewer. But the real bomb was the whistleblower. Mrs. Alvarez from 2 streets over had been on the board until Karen forced her out. She showed up at my door at dawn with a USB drive. I kept copies of every email, she said quietly. She threatened my husband's business if I talked. But I'm done being scared. The emails were gold. Karen bragging to Tyler about finally getting that stubborn old fool Thompson out so we can flip the lot for double. Plans to split the profit with Victor Lang. And the forgery? She literally traced my signature from an old welcome packet. I didn't sleep. I spent the night organizing everything into a single presentation. Timeline, photos, bank records, drone video, emails, police reports of the mailbox vandalism. At the bottom, I added one line in big red letters. Violation of her own covenants by the HOA president herself. The next HOA meeting was supposed to be routine. I showed up early, sat in the front row, and when they called for public comment, I stood up. Before we discussed the Thompson relocation, I said calmly, I'd like to address a more pressing issue. President Blackwell has embezzled $47,000 from the landscaping fund. She also built an illegal addition that violates every rule she's fined the rest of us for. Here's the proof. I hit play. The projector showed the drone footage first. Gasps rippled through the room. Then the bank statements. Then the emails. Karen's face went from smug to sheet white. Tyler looked like he might throw up. You're lying, she screeched. These are public records, Karen. And I have copies ready for the sheriff, the state attorney general, and every news station in the county. Mr. Peterson actually stood up. Karen, is this true? She tried to bluster, but the room had turned. People were pulling out their phones. Someone yelled, resign. I walked out while they were still yelling. That night the first news van showed up. By morning the local paper had the headline, HOA president accused of embezzlement and forgery in suburban land grab. The utilities shutoff order was canceled the same day. The rezoning application was put on hold. But Karen wasn't done. Oh no. That woman had one more card to play. 2 nights later, I woke to the sound of breaking glass. My garage. I grabbed the baseball bat I kept by the bed and ran outside. 2 figures in black hoodies were pouring something from a gas can onto my workbench. The smell hit me, gasoline. They were going to burn my garage down. With all of Sarah's tools inside. With every memory. I didn't think. I just yelled and charged. One of them dropped the can and ran. The other swung at me. I caught his arm and slammed him into the side of the garage. His hood fell back. Tyler, Karen's own son. Get off my property, I growled, phone already recording. This is attempted arson. On camera. He spat. You're finished, old man. Then he ran. I called the sheriff. Officer Ramirez arrived in minutes. He took one look at the gas can, the broken window, the footage on my phone, and his jaw tightened. This is escalating fast, Mr. Thompson. The next morning the County Planning Commission meeting was packed. Victor Lang himself showed up in a $1,000 suit, smiling like he was running for mayor. He pitched his luxury townhomes as progress. I stood up during public comment. Progress that starts with arson and forgery. I asked. Then I played the garage footage. The room erupted. Victor's smile vanished. Karen wasn't even there. She'd gone into hiding after the embezzlement story broke. But her brother-in-law on the commission suddenly remembered an urgent appointment and left. The rezoning vote was tabled indefinitely. That same afternoon, a process server showed up with a lawsuit from Karen. Emotional distress, defamation, the works. She was trying to bleed me dry with legal fees. I represented myself. I couldn't afford a lawyer, but I had the truth. Court day was surreal. Karen showed up in a black suit, trying to look respectable. Her lawyer spun her as a devoted mother protecting her son's future. I simply played every video, every email, every bank record. When I showed the drone footage of her illegal pool house, the judge actually laughed out loud. Mrs. Blackwell, the judge said, you have violated the very covenants you swore to uphold. This case is dismissed with prejudice. And I suggest you consult your own attorney regarding the criminal charges the DA is preparing. Karen looked like she'd been slapped. Tyler wouldn't meet my eyes. I walked out of that courtroom feeling lighter than I had in months. But I knew the developer wasn't finished. Victor Lang had deeper pockets and friends in higher places. The final blow came from the most unexpected place. A week after the court win, a sleek dark blue sedan pulled into my driveway. A young woman stepped out, Madison, Tyler's fiancée. She looked nervous, ashamed. "Mr. Thompson," she said softly, "I had no idea what they were doing. Tyler lied to me. Told me you were selling willingly. My father, he believes in doing the right thing." She handed me an envelope. Inside was a cashier's check for $750,000 from her father, Thomas Maxwell, owner of the largest construction supply company in the state. No strings. Just a note. "For the fight you fought for all of us." I stared at that check for a long time. It was more money than I'd ever see again. Enough to move anywhere. Enough to retire in luxury. But looking at Sarah's roses, at the house we built our life in, I knew I wasn't going anywhere. Instead, I used part of it to start the Oakwood Grove Community Defense Fund. Hired a real lawyer to review every HOA covenant. Helped neighbors who'd been fined into poverty. Installed neighborhood security cameras that actually protected people instead of spying for Karen. And the rest? I turned my backyard into a proper community garden open to every kid in the subdivision. No rules except help yourself and leave it better. Karen and Tyler disappeared. Word is she moved to Arizona and tried suing her new HOA for stealing her parking spot. Some people never learn. Victor Lang's company lost 3 major contracts after the embezzlement scandal went national. His progress dried up overnight. Last month, the new HOA board, elected by actual residents, voted to dissolve the old family relocation clause forever. They even sent me a formal apology letter. I framed it right next to Sarah's picture. Sometimes I sit on the back porch at sunset, Duke and Shadow, my 2 new rescue dogs, at my feet, and I think about how close I came to losing everything. One greedy woman with a clipboard almost erased 23 years of memories. But the truth, a few good neighbors, and one stubborn old man turned the tide. The suburbs aren't perfect. They never were. But they're worth fighting for when the people who live in them remember they're supposed to be a community, not a kingdom. So if you're watching this and your HOA is making your life hell, document everything. Keep your receipts. And never, ever let them see you flinch. Because sometimes the quiet guy on Maple Lane turns out to be the one who brings the whole house of cards down. Thanks for listening to my story. If it helped you feel a little less alone in your own neighborhood battle, drop a comment. Tell me what your HOA Karen did. And remember, stand your ground. The truth always wins in the end.